Yeah, buddy. NXT from November the 11th, 2025. Let me tell you, this is one of the weaker episodes of NXT. Clearly, they were dragging ass until next week when the Gold Rush event starts and they're going to be doing the Madison Square Garden shows and stuff. So that's pretty much what they've been waiting for here. We got to get through the show, but this was a tough one. Not much happened. So let's start with the main event because it's the most interesting thing to talk about. Ricky Starks defeats Trick Williams, last man standing match. Pretty solid. We got a little bit of blood here because Trick Williams was getting whipped with a kendo stick and it got him in the face. So it got him like near the eyebrow or whatever. It got some blood going there. Ricky Starks came into the match with injured ribs. And Trick Williams, gave him the bookend on the stairs. They both crashed through different objects the same way. It was so lazy. Trick Williams went running at Ricky Starks. He got matadored into the wall. Boom! Crashed through the wall. Big pop. Ricky Starks wraps himself in a chain. He comes running at Trick Williams. Trick Williams, olay! And Ricky Starks smashes through the wall. I mean, two big spots. Both got big pops, but I didn't like the fact that they did the same gimmick twice, just through two different walls. The finish, however, I did like. Ricky Starks and Trick Williams had fought up the stairs onto the ramp, and Ricky speared Trick Williams off of the balcony. They both crashed through a table. I'm okay. That last little bit right there, I don't know, because Ricky Starks starts getting up on his feet, and then so does Trick Williams, but Trick Williams just kind of stumbles and falls back down. So Ricky Starks beats the count of 10. He wins the match. It was good. It was a good match. It probably could have been better. Obviously, it feels like this was the end for Trick Williams. I really wish the ending would have been a little bit more definitive because it seemed like Trick Williams had a chance there at the end and that they were equals except for maybe one step before Trick Williams couldn't maintain his feet. And I also don't like the fact that he got speared off the back balcony and he got back up. That was... Ricky Starks fell in the same height. Maybe we should have come up with something else, but it was still a great bump for both of them, I have to admit. So Ricky Starks wins. As the show was going off the air, Obafemi was coming to the ring. His theme song was playing. There was shadows and everything. I was excited, but CW said, nah, it's 10 o'clock, baby. 10 o'clock in this show. And they pulled the plug on that thing. So Obafemi is not going to the main roster. He is still in NXT. I could see they're probably going to run the Ricky Starks Obafemi rematch at the MSG, which I think is a good place for it. But we got to get Obafemi out of NXT. Either one of these guys got to go. There's three of these guys here. Probably two of them got to leave. Either Ricky's got to leave. He's the elder statesman of the group. Either he's got to lose the title and leave. And work his way onto Raw or SmackDown, which he would perfectly fit in. Or we got to take Obafemi out of here. He's been in NXT for a while. I think he's graduated and still hangs around the food court. And Trick Williams is, the guy who doesn't go to class anymore. He just kind of hangs around too, So all three of these guys are ready to go, if we're being honest. But you can't pull them all at the same time. You'll kill NXT if you do that. So I think that if you got to get rid of two of them, then it's got to be Trick and Oba. Trick's been there the longest, and Oba's the most ready. But you might not have a main event spot for Oba, which is what you want. You want to put him in the main event spot. But I'm okay with one more Trick Williams versus Obafemi match. I'm really good on that. Let's get that one in. All right, let's go through the rest of the show in proper order. Paxley promised to be more responsible with the title at Izzy Dame's urging, no more freebies. And then JC Jane popped up and says, you need to prove that your championship match at Halloween Havoc wasn't a fluke, and that, I was a champion, I was a double champion, so I deserve it. Izzy Dame said that JC Jane was insignificant and that Paxley had nothing to prove, but Paxley agreed to the match anyway. They're having this story where Tatum Paxley is being controlled by Izzy Dame, and they're not sure whether she's going to be herself, which is to give everybody all these opportunities because she wants to be a fighting champion, or whether she's going to trust Izzy Dame and do what Izzy Dame tells her to do, and basically Izzy Dame is controlling the title. It's an interesting story. I kind of have fun with it. Can't say I don't like Izzy Dame here, because I think she's doing a really good job. She's kind of growing a little bit. Both factions are pretty fun. You got the crowd, chanting Tatum Tuesday, which I thought was pretty good. They also chanted "We Want Laney" later when Fallon Henley and the rest of them came out. So that was fun. Speaking of Fallon Henley, she defeated some girl by the name of Skylar Ray, who won LFG. She was very athletic, but there was not much else there. Send her to Evolve, man. This was not the right spot. I guess when you win LFG, you kind of guaranteed a spot on NXT for a little while, but she clearly is not ready. This was a speed match, and it still felt like it was too long. You feel me? Speaking of Lainey Reed, the crowd was chanting for her, and she basically wanted to make an impact and impress JC Jane and Fallon Henley. She'd been in the group for a while and hadn't done anything. So she went and found Kendall Gray, the Evolve Women's Champion, and smacked the dog shit out of her. That was fun. All right, I got to tell you, that was fun. It very reminiscent of what happened earlier this year when JC Jane went and hunted down Stephanie Vaquer just to smack her in the face. It was the same damn thing. I got to say, I love that. That was fantastic. So they're gonna run Kendall Gray versus Lainey Reed. All right, these are two standouts. They don't get a lot of time. You could tell NXT really, really, really likes Kendall Gray, so she's getting a whole lot of looks here. Lainey Reed, I'm surprised that they're not doing more with her. I think she might have gotten hurt, but that slap was pretty good. It was pretty stiff. It was a stiffin'. So the Evolve Championship is likely going to be defended on NXT sometime soon. They're also going to have the Evolve Men's Championship at the Gold Rush show. Jackson Drake and the Vanity Project, they were there, and Ava announced that Jackson Drake will be defending the championship against Super Sean Legacy. Interesting bit that Jackson Drake has to defend the Evolve Championship against Keanu Carver this Wednesday. So is this a spoiler? Because that match is already pre-taped? I don't know. Keanu Carver's got to get out of Evolve too. He's great. I don't want him and Obafemi on the same roster at the same time because they're very similar characters, except for their presentation. Obviously, Keanu Carver's a little rougher around the edges, while Obafemi's a little bit more regal, I guess you could say. But you wouldn't be able to. Well, you can tell the two characters apart. I mean, let's not get racist here. I would love to see those two guys wrestle each other. That would be fun. But Jackson Drake versus Super Sean Legacy, that's okay. I would have preferred if it was Keanu Carver, so Carver can win the belt on NXT. I think he deserves the platform. Even though, yes, he's kind of screwing it up with all the tweets about Jacob Fatu and everything, but I think generally speaking, he's a good brother. He's got something special going on in Evolve, and I hate that they kind of killed his momentum because he was a killer at first, and then they kind of slowed him down, and now they kind of been boosting him here and there, and his progress definitely stopped, and hopefully he can pick that back up. Vanity Project are friends with Ethan Page. who popped up with Chelsea Green. He demanded that Ava congratulate Chelsea on being a double champ along with him. Instead, Ava starts talking about the AAA Tag Team Championships. And then they decided to pick a match between Alba Fire and Thea Hale. Now, let me tell you about this. Thea Hale, she did a promo backstage with Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry says he was inspired by her energy and inspired by the fact that she threw pies in the face of Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. That inspired him. Then Thea Hale cut a promo saying that she believes in Joe Hendry. They believe in Thea Hale, and she believes in Thea Hale too. So she also believes in herself. Thea Hale versus Alba Fire was entertaining. I felt like it went on a little too long. And then there was an element of choreography where you could see Thea Hale working through things as she was going through the match. So it was fine, you know. I enjoyed it. Thea Hale won the match. She countered the Gory Bomb into a Pop Rocks like pin and won the match. So it was pretty solid win there from Thea Hale. She needed that win. They didn't do much with her on Evolve. She made like one appearance and that was it. So, but Thea Hale and Joe Hendry versus Chelsea Green and Ethan Page, that's going to be a fun one. I'm kind of enjoying that. All of this is going to be really fun. The Men's Speed Championship, Jasper Troy defeated El Grande Americano, much to the happiness of Booker T. And, you know, that's probably because Jasper Troy's been doing some work down at Reality of Wrestling, so I'm pretty sure Booker T was thrilled about Jasper Troy's victory. Clearly, Jasper Troy is not fit to be a champion, but they had to get that belt off of El Grande Americano. They did an angle where Los Americanos got ejected, and they snuck a weapon to El Grande. And as he was trying to use it, Jasper Troy basically attacked him from behind and hit him with the big black hole slam and won the match. Unreal that El Grande Americano, who has been featured quite heavily in AAA and on Raw, lost to this guy. Look, I know a lot of people, you know, maybe I'm kind of rough on Jasper Troy because he feels kind of one note to me. But also, it kind of makes sense that a speed championship would work for a guy like him because his matches should be short and they should be squash matches. So it's fine. You know, just weird situation for him to defeat El Grande Americano like this. But I'm glad that, you know, this is over. So now El Grande Americano doesn't have to show up on NXT anymore. So Jasper Troy is your champion. Hooray! Speaking of speed champions. Oh, I already talked about that. We can just move on then. We already talked about the women's speed championship. So I don't need to talk about that. So Sol Ruka, she's now medically cleared. Ava says she can get a title match whenever she wants it. Sol Ruka says she wants the title match next week at Madison Square Garden. Ava was like, "Are you sure?" She was like, "Yep." And Zarya was like, "Are you sure?" She was like, "Yep." So Sol Ruka versus Mariah May next week. And they had a very special Mariah May interview where she was being interviewed by Mariah May. They did the Mick Foley split screen where the woman from hell was interviewing the Glamour. Very bizarre stuff that they got going on here. So these were obviously two aspects of her personality arguing. From what I understand, the Glamour is all about the spotlight. It's all about, well, basically it's the light in the dark, right? The woman from hell wants to get in on this Sol Ruka thing, saying that the Glamour is not the real champion because she did not break Sol Ruka. She did not defeat Sol Ruka. She beat Zarya for the belt. So it makes sense that she would say that. So she said that they, meaning the two aspects of her personality, do not compete. Instead, they coexist, in that the glamour is to be seen while the woman from hell is to be remembered. And the woman from hell begged the glamour to let her handle this Sol Ruka situation, because Sol Ruka needs to be broken. And so Mariah May agreed. Blake Monroe agreed that she needs to let her alternate personality handle this situation. It was okay. It's not my favorite idea in the world. I like the female American Psycho gimmick more than split personality. I really don't think it needs to be two separate personalities. I think it just should be that Mariah May turns it up or flips a switch when she's frustrated or angry, or, just something beneath the surface. Then we get this, where she's vicious and violent and all that sort of stuff. It being two different personalities, I feel is kind of hokey. That's just me, though. I don't know. Maybe I need to sleep on it, but for right now, I'm not really a fan. The match that made this show very hard to watch, Josh Briggs versus Tavion Heights. The less said about it, the better. Tavion Heights won the match, but Josh Briggs nailed him with a big boot. Oh my God. I think he hit him with the big boot twice. It looked nasty. It was really nasty work, my dudes. It looked tough. It was tough. That thing was tough. So that's over with, finally. Jordan Grace cut a promo about taking the championship from Kalani Jordan, and said that Xia Li, aka Lei Ying Li, is going to be collateral damage. Trick Williams talked up Kalani Jordan, and Kalani Jordan says she's going to be selfish, and she's going to prove that she's her. She said. She's going to prove that she's her. Alright, let's see if that sticks. I don't know if that's going to stick. Is her gimmick going to be she's girl Carmelo Hayes? She's going to wear a fur coat? That'd be great. She needs like a change to that gimmick or something like that. A nice little coat with some sunglasses or something like that. That might be nice. Add some spice, add some color to her gimmick. It would fit. Now, she's in an interesting situation because she's floating around on NXT, and TNA has not had a full episode of Impact since Bound for Glory. It's been mostly recaps, and there was a Halloween episode. I'm not sure what they've been doing. Maybe they're writing the shows or something. I don't know. But Bound for Glory was essentially the season finale, and they're kind of preparing a reboot. I know they have a live episode of TNA Impact coming up, but it was odd that they would take so much time off after Bound for Glory, especially since they had such momentum going in. Also, yes, I was made aware that there was about 600 to 1,000 comped seats for Bound for Glory. So while there was 7,000 people in the building, there was only really about 6,000 tickets sold, or turnstile count. Feels about right. That's still a lot for TNA. If it was 6,000, a little over 6,000, it's still a lot, because TNA was not getting that much a few years back. In terms of them outdrawing Wrestle Dream, I think that might actually not be the case now. But it might still be. I don't know. I don't remember what Wrestle Dream's attendance and everything was, but I remember that was a big conversation piece at the time, is that Bound for Glory was outdrawing the TNA and the AEW show. So we don't know. But while TNA is on hiatus, their champions are still doing business. Kalani Jordan's still here in NXT, and Leon Slater went home overseas to do some indie shows. And everybody figured, okay, he's over there. Javon Evans comes out there. He makes the big surprise, quote unquote, announcement that Javon Evans and Leon Slater will wrestle Dark State for the tag team championships in Madison Square Garden. He was very excited about wrestling Gunther in the tournament, and also the last time is now a tournament, and wrestling at Madison Square Garden at only 21 years old. And Leon Slater was talking about Dark State, and he says, "We're gonna jack the Rasclot Gold." I was like, "Oh no, it's like a deleted scene from Shatus." Please, at least he talks uniquely, you know. Okay. Dark State came out and said that the ass whooping these two guys got, they should have charged it to the game. And we find out that Leon is in the building. He's not overseas. So Leon Slater and Javon Evans formed by Voltron to beat up all 4 members of Dark State. That was interesting. Everybody knows I don't like Dark State, so that didn't do me any good. But I like Javon Evans. I like Leon Slater. I like that they're keeping these guys busy while TNA is doing, I don't know what TNA is doing, man. They need to get it together. I can tell you that much. So that's pretty much NXT in a nutshell. There was nothing special about it. So, it was okay. The main event was solid. I like the Paxley story, but, there's not much movement there outside of her giving JC Jane her rematch and frustrating Izzy Dame. The mid-card needs a whole lot of help, but clearly they're saving stuff for the Madison Square Garden show and the Gold Rush show, so it's fine. They probably should have brought in some AAA guys in order to beef this card up. And, I'm not even going to hold you up. We really don't need Josh Briggs on the show every week. We can go without him, I promise you. All right, so the WWE ID stuff has been making some movements, so let's talk about that for a little bit for those of you who are following it. There were 2 young ladies. I didn't follow this thing completely, but there were 2 young ladies that caught my attention. One of them, I'm not sure if she's ID'd yet, but she's involved with this thing somehow. Her name is Top Tier Tiara. I think her name is Tiara James or something like that. That girl is fine. All right. That is a pretty, pretty girl. She's fine. They need to bring her into NXT proper. Unless she's the absolute shits, you need to bring her into NXT proper. All right. Unless she's absolute dog shit in the ring or a bad person. I'm talking, she kicks puppies and throws kittens into traffic. You need to bring her into the performance center. All right. She needs to be there. She needs to be on television. She's fine. The other girl, her name is the Notorious Mimi. Now, the only thing about her that really stands out is that she was in NXT before. Her name was Sloane Jacobs, and she got fired like less than a year into her NXT contract. She, of course, was trained by the Monster Factory and was featured on the Monster Factory, what was that TV show? I forgot where that show aired, but she was featured on there. So she's been gone since the days of NXT 2.0. So she's been gone for about 3 or 4 years, gotten a little bit more seasoning. She was very young at the time. I think she was like 21 or something. So she's still pretty young now. And they're going to bring her back. So this ought to be nice. It's a chance at redemption for this young lady. But I don't know what they're doing with this whole ID thing. I'm not sure where it's going. There were some guys that popped up on Evolve who were, ID'd or whatever. I have no idea who any of those people are. I did see one of them on Reality of Wrestling before, but none of these people really stand out as folks that I would know. So I thought the ID thing, people talked like the ID thing was going to be over with, but apparently not. Also, and this is kind of related, but Zeta Steele, the young lady who was ID, the very first WWE ID talent from last year, she allowed her ID to lapse, I suppose. And now there's talk about bringing her into Ring of Honor. So I guess it worked. If you leave and all of a sudden Tony Khan's giving you a call, then it did what it was supposed to do. well, technically it got you bigger and better bookings, that's for sure. But obviously it was supposed to put her on the road to NXT. Maybe next time. We'll see if this Ring of Honor thing works out for her. I hope it does. Not because I don't like her, but because I like to see people progressing. I don't like to see people 4 or 5 years in the business still doing job matches and not having a chance at the big time, or not having a positive opportunity going forward. And there's no good reason why the careers couldn't go forward. So hopefully that Ring of Honor thing works out for her, or maybe she'll double back and show up on NXT. Evolve is in a weird place right now too, because they fired Stevie Turner, and yet the shows are still airing with Stevie Turner on them. Some other people who got cut from that show are still featured on the show. So I have no idea when the new episodes of Evolve are going to air. I don't know if there are going to be new episodes of Evolve. There ain't no goddamn telling. But it's there every week. They haven't done anything for a while, but except for work on the character of, what's her face? What the hell is that girl? Wendy Chu. They're doing stuff to her. She's talking now. Yay! I don't know, man. I'm surprised that girl's been around as long as she has been. It's been, 6 years? She was in NXT for a long time, because she was in NXT before they did the Tian Sha gimmick. And then that was 5 years ago when she did it with Xia Li and Boa. And that was in 2020 or 2021. It was during the pandemic. And then she's been sleepy Wendy Chu for 2 or 3 years now. After, her injury. I'm surprised she's still around. I'm not going to hold you up. Oh, brother. Okay. Before we go, just something popped up on my timeline as I was seeing if I had missed anything that I needed to mention on NXT. Turns out that the young man that was cut from NXT, I don't remember what his name was already. He wrestles under the name Duke Hanson now. He was in Chase University, big guy, Australian. Apparently, he also had done vignettes where he was interviewing himself. And he brought attention to the fact that basically WWE ripped him off with the Blake Monroe thing. Well, considering WWE did it first with Mankind, it was kind of their shit, right? But, he did kind of do a new take on it. Well, not necessarily new, just kind of a more modern thing. I guess he could get credit for that, but this is basically WWE ripping themselves off. I get it. What has he's been gone for a year, hasn't he? What the hell has he been doing? Where the hell has he been? I haven't seen him on any indie shows. He ain't popped up on no knockoff indie show. He ain't popped up at MLW or nothing. It's hard to act like, you just being ripped off when nobody knows where the hell you went. Did he go back to Australia and start wrestling there? I don't know. But I guess if he wants to take credit for doing that thing first, and, fine. But I remember when Dude Love interviewed Mankind. So I'm old enough to remember that. So it's not like he created this thing. But I guess to some fans, they're going to believe that he did, which is fine with me. I don't give a shit. Plus, people are going to steal. Good artists borrow, great artists steal. You know how that works. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Be blessed.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session where you got an affection for no progression, regression. The best don't